Zach, are you in your grandmother's basement?
I wish my grandmother had a collection of scotch like this, or
much scotch.
That my grandmother was still alive, to be fair. But yeah, it has a little bit of that vibe.
Yeah, where
I
are
kind
you?
of like it.
I'm at Tamdu Distillery in the town of I think Albemarle up here in the Scottish Highlands. You'll hear about it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah. Well, let's get this thing rocking and rolling. All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
From VinePair's New York City headquarters, I'm Adam Teeter.
And I'm Joanna Sherino.
And in the Scottish Highlands, I'm Zach Jabal.
And this is the VinePair podcast. All right, let's start with Zach because he's on some weird delay. So we're going to let him go first so that he doesn't have to talk anymore. So, Zach, what have you been drinking?
A lot of scotch. So much scotch. Maybe even more scotch than I cared to drink. But that's what happens sometimes when you're traveling. Some particular standouts. I did have the opportunity to have a 50-year-old scotch, which, is hit or miss sometimes with me. This is the 50-year from Tamdu Distillery, which is where I currently am as we record. And that one was pretty fucking epic. I got to be honest. I don't love to do the look at the thing I tried that's so exclusive, but I did do that and that was pretty cool. And I think the thing I was going to say about scotch is really interesting to me in tasting here is in visiting and the conversation that's so interesting is there is a huge sort of I don't want to say debate, but there's a huge thing going on in Scotch about this kind of conversation about what defines a finish. A lot of producers are sort of frustrated at the fact that there isn't a strong or any real legal definition for what barrel finished means in Scotch. And so, in theory, I don't know if anyone actually does this, but in theory, you could, pour the Scotch in a barrel, pour it right back out and say it was barrel finished in a, sherry cask or something like that. And, that is a big subject of some contention because I think for people who rely on that kind of branding and who do put their scotch in these casks for a significant length of time, it kind of, I think, pisses them off that there isn't the protection around that, whereas almost everything else about scotch that you can put on a label has a very strong, clear definition. And yet the barrel finish still does not. May change. There's, I think, hope of some sort of, change to the, the way the laws are written. But as of now, not yet. So what about you guys?
Joanna, please.
Oh, I've had a lot to drink lately.
Really?
Yeah. Because
Got a little problem?
No. I never have anything to drink. So.
I know.
Evan and I decided to just go out to dinner recently
love this.
For no good reason, just to get a babysitter. So we did. And we went to this restaurant called Cafe Kestrel in Red Hook.
Hard reservation to get.
Because it's 8 seats.
So how'd you get the reservation?
Well, I just they had them. They actually had them because I don't know. Nobody wants to go to Red Hook. Sorry. Before we left, this is actually something I learned from you. You guys have a cocktail before
sometimes,
the babysitter.
Yeah. Yep.
We had Red Hooks.
Cool.
And then we went to dinner, and I had a spritz, not a spritz, but blanc vermouth and sweet vermouth cocktail.
Interesting.
With over ice with an orange.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really good, actually. After the cocktail that I had, it was a little bit
nice.
lighter. Yeah. And then a bottle of wine that I hated.
Really? You hated
no.
it?
I hated it.
You gonna say what it was?
No, we drank it, but it was extremely funky, natty wine.
Ugh. Did you ask if it was going to be funky natty before?
No, I just ordered it.
Oh.
And then tasted it, and she looked at me, and I looked at her and was like, "This is fine."
Oh, Joanna.
No, Joanna.
No. Actually, what are you supposed to say? I ordered the wine. I think that's how the wine was supposed to be. It wasn't flawed. I mean, it's flawed in its own way, right? But it was
that's
not
a
a bad wine.
I think you could have said, "Hey, I didn't realize when I ordered this that it was going to be, I should have asked, but I didn't realize when I ordered this was going to be on the funky natty side, and that's not really my style." And I'm sure they would have poured it by the glass and you could have ordered something else.
Maybe.
Or they would have said, sorry, all we have here is funky natty wines, which is also totally possible.
I don't think that's the case. But anyway. So
I hate when that happens because it's happened to me before too.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, I was just whatever. This is my fault, not theirs.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. And then we went to just a dive bar after.
Yes.
Because sure, why not?
You're paying for the sitter. Let's go.
and I had a shot and a beer.
I love it.
Old Overholt and a Miller High Life.
Dude, that's the
And we
best.
played some darts, the best bar game.
So did you go to the dive bar like closer to home or you stayed in Red Hook?
No, we stayed in Red Hook.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I think there aren't a ton of great dive bars near
you.
Very close to our apartment.
Yeah.
So.
More play places.
More play places for children, yes.
Yeah. There's no dive bars near my apartment.
We also had after hours, but I don't want to talk about that. So.
Oh, I'll talk about after hours then.
Yeah.
So we did have after hours this past week. And we had Steve Schneider from Sip and Guzzle, and he made some
Love
delicious.
that guy.
Oh, dude, he's the best.
So nice.
And he had 3 really great drinks. A sort of like a martini that used vodka and sake, which I love.
Banana infused vodka.
Yes, banana infused vodka.
So good.
Delicious. He had a really good margarita and then his version of like a Miami Vice Negroni because it was coconut washed and then
Strawberry Negroni.
Strawberry Negroni with a coconut wash. It was like really, really interesting and very good.
Yeah, they were
His
all
drinks
great.
were all great. And then he also had these tomato bombs, which are these shots he does where it's sun-dried tomato infused tequila, and then it's dropped into like a small beer, and then you shoot Peroni, and then you shoot the whole thing.
Ooh.
It was really fun. So that was a great time. I also want to give a little bit of a beef that I have.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys know when you go to these places and people like just totally look past you? Like they don't even like introduce themselves. Have you ever been at these drinks events, et cetera? And like you're talking to like 2 or 3 people and the person walks over to only talk to one person in the group and not the other people, doesn't introduce themselves. Like I try very hard. I think this is like a lesson that everyone needs to learn, that like you need to introduce the people in your group when someone comes over. Right. And I think it's first of all, good manners, but second of all, inclusive, because that person has now interrupted your conversation. So I was at this event over the weekend as well. It was a drinks event, whatever. But I was with Joanna.
Oh yeah, I was there too.
Yeah, and I was also with another person that we know. And this guy comes over who's like a representative of like at one of the big auction houses.
Yep.
Right. I can't remember if it was Sotheby's or
I think it was Sotheby's.
Yeah. Anyways, he comes over because he wants to talk to the person we are talking to, who happens to be a colleague of ours and a friend, and he might be joining the podcast later, Aaron. And he has a vintage gin in his hand from like 1920 something.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And Aaron is full on in conversation with us. The guy not only doesn't introduce himself to us, start talking to Aaron and is like, well, I had to come over because I saw you and like I had this old bourbon. And he has the bottle and he has a stack of plastic cups in his hand. And he proceeds to give Aaron a pour of this gin and then completely ignore you and I, Joanna and I, and then like walk away. And then Aaron turns to me afterwards and goes, "You don't want to taste that?" I go, "It wasn't offered." And he was like, "Well, you should have said you wanted it." And I was like, "No, he should have offered it. Like, this was the rudest thing ever. Like, what am I supposed to say? Hey, guy who didn't introduce yourself to me or know who, or even give a fuck who I was, because you want to talk to one of my writers. Can I please have a pour of your?" It was just so fucking
What do
weird.
you got there?
What do you got there? Oh, some old gin? Yeah, I'd like to try that. Oh, it's from the 1920s. Oh, good job, guy. Like, it was. And I was like, what a prick. Like, so you're the guy in charge of selling old spirits at Sotheby's? Good fucking luck, bro. This is why no one who's a millennial is ever buying your shit. Like, it was so fucking rude. And I like, honestly, I got to blow that guy's spot up because, like, people should be called out for being rude. And that was so rude.
Right.
So anyways,
that's
what I've not been drinking this week. Anyways, so some news happened this past week, and while it's not like a major acquisition news and that it was not
disclosed,
a huge brand, the price wasn't disclosed, etc. I think it's significant for a few reasons, and that is that Gallo has purchased the wine brand Whiny Baby.
Yes.
The wine brand Whiny Baby, right? So whiny. We all get it, right?
Yes.
We've covered Whiny Baby on VinePair. We've done videos about Whiny Baby. We've been following the brand for a while. It's only 5 years old. Reports that we can find say in 2024, the founder herself says that she did 6,000 cases in sales. So it's a small brand still.
Yep.
The projection when she did the last interview where she divulged any case numbers at all was that she had hoped to do double that this year. We don't know if she's on pace or not. Probably it's between a 6,000 to 10,000 case brand, maybe at the time of acquisition. It's also Gallo's first acquisition of a wine brand in 2 years.
Yep.
The last acquisitions they made were combined when they purchased both. Not they didn't combine the brands, but they purchased both Massican, which we're a huge fan of here at VinePair, and then Ron Bauer, which was a huge
2 years ago.
Me either.
It feels like it was just yesterday.
Wow, Dan, time flies when you're having fun, huh, buddy? But like, look, I think we want to chat about this a little bit, and then we're going to bring on a friend of the pod, Aaron, and say goodbye to Zach. But I wanted to chat about this quickly because to me, I think this is a very smart move. This is we were talking a ton about how much wine needs to be focused on the next generation, and while who can say whether or not Whiny Baby is going to be ultimately successful? I guess at least Gallo is trying something, and I think the thing that people have been talking about is that, yeah, sure, it's only around 6,000 cases in sales, but like it really is a presence that started and was built on TikTok. The brand has about 88,000 followers on TikTok.
It's the brand. They bought the brand.
Yeah. And I think Gallo knows how to scale. They bought a brand. It's very, very Gen Z forward packaging. You get little charm bracelets that are attached to the neck of the bottle, a la Taylor Swift, friendship bracelet type stuff. It's very loud. The whole thing is crazy. I was trying to think, and I guess my thinking here as well is like at least finally like wine is doing something about this issue that they're being told, and I think Gallo kind of has to lead the way. They're the largest company in wine, so like I'm hoping that others will follow and start doing this as well. Yeah. It's curious to me that like there's so many millennial founded brands that I've loved over the years that haven't been bought by any of the big companies, and I'm curious why the jump immediately to Gen Z and not to investing in some of the millennial brands that are winning or at least growing.
What brands?
I mean, well, I've talked about Nomatica forever, and I'm still surprised that brand hasn't been bought despite, my public comments about canned wine.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I do think her liquid is very, look, we named it a rising brand of the year 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think that, if you're thinking about like incredible founder, like Kristen's a great founder. I think she's a very hard worker.
It's a very appealing brand.
I think it's a millennially, like in the same way that Whiny Baby is a Whiny Baby, it's Gen Z whiny brand, whatever.
Yeah.
Like Nomatica is a very millennial brand, right? She has she's based in LA, so like lots of celebrities are huge fans of these wines. It's poured all over the place in LA. I think the move into box was very smart. So like just one of the examples of like interesting millennial founded, female founded brand. There have been some purchased for sure, but not as many. I would have expected to see more after some of the ones that were purchased, but I do think that this is wine sort of starting to say they can't just do it on their own. They can't incubate. They can't create these brands in house. And again, like I think this Gallo continues to prove why they are always the market leader, because they're always thinking ahead of other people in the space. And
this is very much their strategy.
This is their strategy, and I respect it. I mean, huge kudos to them. I think if you have any negative feelings about this, you're kind of asleep at the wheel. Like they're trying to continue to do things. And I mean, I had a winemaker friend who like texted me and he was like, "Do you think this is their next barefoot?" And I was like, "I don't think so. This is going to be something different." But and it's not, and the juice isn't at all the same. Have either of you had Whiny Baby?
Yeah, we had it here.
So it's very like glue-esque. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of like, so like what I think is interesting about Whiny Baby too is it's taking a little bit of that like Senior Gulp, like Gulp Oblo playbook of like, it's taking a little bit of the natural wine playbook. It's these juicy, crushable, chillable red. Yeah. And putting it in fun Gen Z packaging, but it's not trying to make the savvy bee. It's not trying to make put Kim Crawford in a bottle for Gen Z. Right? That's not what it's doing.
It's not mom wine.
No, it's not mom wine. It's not taking Ron Bauer's for a different generation, right? And like I think, it's speaking to all of the things that could work. We'll see if it worked, but I think it's smart. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think this is particularly smart because I think, like you said, if Gallo had decided to create this brand on their own, I feel like it would have been very contrived.
Yes.
Like this is what they're going for. They're going after Gen Z. It's so obvious, like it's never going to work. But acquiring a brand that's already doing that so successfully, that's established itself with the generation, yeah, it's just like a very smart strategy in the same way that I don't know what's happening with Montucky cold snacks, but it's the same exact thing, right?
Yeah,
it's like
doing well.
It's a beer brand that's trying to achieve a certain thing, and they picked it up because it's working instead of trying to make these brands from scratch, which people need to like. Admittedly, these bigger companies need to do it, right, to go after the next generation. But
and I think the difference here, and like what I was trying to call out, and you're helping me articulate it much better, is that I think this has been the strategy of spirits companies forever. Basically, like, yes, there is some innovation that happens in-house in terms of maybe flavor or age statement or whatever, right? You decide you're going to release a 50-year-old Scotch. But then the growth and the innovation comes from acquiring things that already exist.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a bunch. Inside wine, especially at the largest companies, besides really Gallo, a lot of the innovation comes from in-house. So it's like, well, we can do that. We already have great winemakers. We have access. We're going to incubate and create our own brand. Instead of saying, you know what,
to do that.
It's cheaper. And I think a lot of it's hubris, right? It's like, oh, well, we see that like millennials are into box wine. Instead of buying a cool millennial box wine by a cool millennial founder that can be the face and be authentic, we're just going to basically create that with our own focus group. And those things flop.
Yeah.
And, you know, taking and making acquisitions, especially small, right? The purchase price is probably not that huge. And it's also bringing someone into the fold. I also like one other prop, and then Zach, yes, you joined from Scotland, so you do get to talk.
Thank you.
I did do some deep dives on this when it happened, and I was on LinkedIn, and I saw a message from the founder, and like, dude, huge lesson to entrepreneurs, like big fucking kudos to her. One of the first things she did, she says in her own thing, is she cold emailed Stephanie Gallo.
Wow, there you go.
And didn't say, I have a brand for you to buy. I want your mentorship. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Because you know what? Like that, all you are doing is saying, you are a legend. Your family is a legend. I want you to help me.
Yeah.
And then, okay, maybe if the help happens and whatever, you're already in like the pipeline.
You got a foot in.
Yeah. For potential acquisition. Like, good for her, man. Like that is hustle. Like I've never, like you don't see that often. And I'm not telling everyone now to cold email Stephanie Gallo, by the way. That's what I'm saying. I don't, like, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying to be that kind of entrepreneur, to say like, there's a company I respect and I want their help and I want their advice, or there's an entrepreneur that I want. When people cold email me and they're like, well, I have a company and like, you've been successful, blah, blah, blah. I always give advice and help.
Yeah, yeah.
So good for her.
Can you tell me what is the relationship to the McBride sisters or the McBride wine?
So they're making it, I think.
Okay.
No, they're doing distribution for her.
Okay.
And I think helping her make it, production, etc. But it's like she went to them as well and was like, I need to scale.
Yeah.
And they probably didn't have the money to buy her, nor did I think she was selling it. But like one of the things that nobody ever talks about, that's one of the biggest challenges, isn't the idea or the access to the actual raw materials to make the product. It's the route to market.
Yeah.
And McBride sisters gave Whiny Baby a route to market, and route to market is really hard in alcohol because the middle tier is fucking the mafia.
Yeah. And it's such a controlled substance. Like you just can't get it out there. So I want to make a couple quick points and then I want to go drink some scotch. So I will say goodbye. But one of them is that I think a thing that makes this purchase interesting and kind of, I think augurs well for it, is that from what I can tell, there isn't like a clear, I mean, you mentioned that the wine profile for Whiny Baby is, that kind of like glue, like very kind of bright, fresh, but there isn't like a set of varieties. And I think like when you were comparing it to Pneumatica, as I was thinking, I was like, well, one of the perhaps challenges and things in potentially for scaling Pneumatica is like, to her credit, I think like Kristen has always been very focused on like organic wine and like a lot more. There's more kind of a varietal focus on some of the some of the packaging and stuff like that.
She's a somm.
Yeah.
So. And that's really cool. But I think like one thing we know is Gallo has a lot of fruit and a lot of wine. And if Whiny Baby does succeed, I don't think there's anything standing between them and going from whatever 10,000 cases to 100,000 cases very quickly, because it's more about the flavor profile, and Gallo can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is I was thinking about, because this whole story kind of tickled like a memory, and I was like, okay, remember the Babe wine brand that like the Fat Jewish?
I remember that brand.
Sold to AB InBev.
Yep.
And so there's a part of me that thinks like this is something that companies sometimes do and take a swing on, and it may not go anywhere. Like if there are any Babe wine fans out there in the audience, like you're still drinking it, let me know. I don't think it's really still out there in the market. Maybe it is. But, I think sometimes it's quite possible, you sort of mentioned at the top, Adam, that this was not probably not a very big sale because there's just not that much volume as of yet. I think that's quite possible that this is something that Gallo buys. It, maybe doesn't go anywhere. And a year or two from now, we're like, remember that? That was interesting. Didn't succeed in terms of growing beyond kind of where it is now. But I do think that the point you both made, and I think it's very true, is that this is what has to be attempted. There has to be effort made to, kind of look for or be open to being solicited in a way by brands that have a point of view, that have a market and have a sort of strategy behind them, that are not going to achieve velocity on their own. And that's what I think savvy companies are looking for, is here's something that hits a market that we're maybe struggling to reach, that we can see ourselves leaning into in some sense and making it happen. And again, that doesn't mean it'll work. You can make a smart move and have it fail, because it's a complicated, confusing, challenging business that doesn't always follow understandable or clear patterns. But I think there's probably very little downside risk for Gallo here. And if it succeeds, we will keep talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, too, as well, I have having had the Whiny Baby wines, they're tasty. Babe sucked. Yeah. So that's the other thing. It's it was just a shit product. So I mean, I think, I'm eager to see. Well, Zach, we will let you head off into the depths of the brown liquid.
Out into the moors. Yeah. I'll just wander off into the Scottish night.
And we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to bring on Aaron Goldfarb.
Later, guys.
Bye. All right, dude. So, friend of the pod, also now spirits editor, Aaron Goldfarb.
Thanks for having me. First time.
Man. So you're going to be joining us hopefully once a month to talk about what's going on in the world of spirits when it comes to VinePair. Can I ask you a question though before we kick off on this list? Why do you think rye? I feel like rye is both beloved by people who are spirits writers like yourself.
Yeah.
But then also kind of never has found its footing amongst just drinks people, taters even. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's beloved by kind of connoisseurs and certainly bartenders, but taters love the easy bourbon. It's caramel, it's vanilla. Who the hell doesn't enjoy that? Rye is a little more challenging. It's got sometimes off-putting flavors, herbal flavors, and spice. It's not as easy to enjoy. And you're right, it's never quite taken off.
Because we thought we were thinking just workshopping. What if we call this segment with you Tater Time?
I like it.
All right, get that trademarked.
Tater Time
Might already be taken.
Are we all supposed to be liking rye? Are you do you not appreciate American whiskey if you don't like rye?
I would say you don't. I mean, America used to be a rye country. We would have been drinking rye, all of us, 150 years ago, especially in New York. And it's a better value these days. On my list of 30 ryes that we just published, only 2 went over $100.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And the vast majority were $30 to $40. And that's MSRP, but with bourbon MSRP, those are going to sell for 5 times more. These you can buy for $40 and they're fantastic. So even the best one's $90.
I thought this was really interesting because when I was reading your piece, you mentioned this idea that people don't love rye or don't know rye. I think it's more just that I feel like you can find a lot of ryes that have bourbon qualities. Yes. If you actually tasted the average consumer on ryes and next to a bourbon, would they really detect the difference? I think it's more just bourbon is so popular right now and people just don't know enough about rye. Not that it's so challenging to their palate.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think the mainstream Kentucky distilleries, most of their ryes taste bourbonish.
Right.
Because they're 51% rye.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we speak about Wild Turkey bourbon is a high rye bourbon. Well, they have a low rye. So
right.
It's not that far off.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the Russell's Reserve single barrel rye, which I put on the list, It's fantastic, but it's not a very aggressive rye.
Right.
Some of these craft ones are leaning into the spiciness and herbalness, but you're right. A lot of them are really close to a bourbon lover's rye.
Yeah.
I think I thought that was interesting about this list, best ryes of the year. Your first list for us in your new position, since you've taken the mantle from Tim. Is how many of these bottles were basically juice that was made by MGP, a spot in Canada I can't remember now.
Alberta.
Yeah, so how are all these places differentiating if basically they're all buying pretty much the same liquid?
Well, not quite. If we'd done this list 5 to 7 years ago, maybe 25 of the 30 would have been MGP's iconic 95.5 rye. I don't recall how many made the list this time. Every time
I kept remembering reading, I was like 95.5. Oh, there's another 95.5.
Yeah, well, the other funny thing, which I'm working on a story about right now, is a lot of the new craft distilleries are distilling to that 95.5 rye, and I actually don't know the answer because I'm still interviewing for it.
Do you think that is because everyone's like MGP's made it so iconic that
maybe? I'm waiting for people to get back to me for some interviews right now.
But
I think there was only probably 3 or 4 MGPs on the list.
Interesting.
But now these places have their own stock, right?
Well,
whereas 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. The rye had all but quit being made in America, aside from MGP and Jim Beam and a few others, 15 years ago. So once rye again became kind of a cocktail ingredient at the least, everyone started ramping up again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the ones that was interesting too is that I guess I remembered Bullet had opened its own distillery, but then in the piece you're saying the 10-year is still MGP, but I guess that would make sense because 10 years ago, they probably still were getting a lot of their rye from MGP.
Well, yeah, and it's always challenging. Some people are wildly transparent about where they got them. There's others, you spend 20 minutes on the internet and you still can't figure out what is actually in the bottle. I don't know the specifics of Bullet right now. The one we tasted was still MGP.
Yeah. So is the way to stand out now, is it all these finishings? It feels like there was a lot of these ryes that you really liked had these special finishes to them. We're going to taste one that you think is incredible, which I'm excited to do.
Yeah. And before I did the tasting, we tasted 85 ryes. I would have told you I didn't particularly like finished rye. I would have said it's a cop-out. It's covering up all the great flavors of rye. And then arguably my top 3 all happen to have weird finishes, from apple brandy to orange wine to Gewürztraminer. If it elevates the rye notes, rye is incredibly complex, herbal, spicy, as we mentioned. Wines can accent that, or it can cover it up if you use a really aggressive wine. These were delicately finished and fantastic.
So what's the rye you brought for us to try?
It's a mouthful. Old Potrero, California Cellar Series number 3, and it's a Gewürztraminer finish from a Sonoma winery.
And this was the highest
scoring
rating you gave.
Yeah, number 1 overall. We gave it a 95 out of 100. Old Potrero is arguably the oldest craft whiskey in America. Our buddy SSB, Susanna Skiver-Barton, wrote a nice story about it a month or 2 ago. It really, despite being over 3 decades old, it's not a distillery, even connoisseurs really talk about. It's kind of just remained a Bay Area, local thing, kind of like Anchor Distilling or Anchor Brewing, which it was a spinoff from. Fritz Maytag also started this distillery. And quite frankly, we were talking about this off air. I hadn't tasted Old Potrero in quite a long time.
I've never had it.
Yeah, a lot. You talk to lots of big whiskey drinkers, certainly on the East Coast, and most have maybe had it once years ago, or maybe never had it at all. This is one of their more elevated releases. We also tried a 13-year-old rye from them that was also fantastic, but we like this one a hair better.
So can we try it?
We should try it. Yeah.
How much was the 13-year-old rye? This is 80, right?
This was 89, I think. I think the 13-year-old was even a hair cheaper. I can't recall. But, these are very economically great prices for these ryes. This was only released in 1,200 bottles or so. So I don't know if
Ooh, that's a big pour, Joanna. What you trying to do?
Sorry, I'll take that one.
All right, let's get after it.
Let's get after it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so you tell us, what should we be looking for, smelling when it comes to rye?
Well, if we're just talking about unfinished rye, people often talk about baking spices.
Okay.
That means cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. They also talk about herbal notes, mint, dill. The 95.5 ryes from MGP have a lot of dill and mint notes to them. And then Gewürztraminer, as you know, Adam. I know
Yes.
you love Gewürztraminer. Strong lychee notes.
Strong lychee notes.
Strong lychee notes. I get a ton of pineapple on this one, too.
Yeah,
A little
it's,
citrus. It's a really pleasant, aromatic whiskey.
you know what's interesting to me about this is that I, by and large, hate whiskeys finished in wine barrels.
Me too.
But what I think is why I often do is most whiskeys, and most whiskeys being bourbon, often I think, okay, I made a bourbon. It's big and rich. It has to be finished in a red wine barrel.
Yeah.
So I got to get a cab, or a Merlot or whatever. And I honestly think the tannins and shit just like ruins the bourbon. But finishing,
You're also sometimes stacking sweet on sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet on sweet with like
but
port.
rye being finished in a white wine barrel is actually really smart. Because like the wine for white for Gewürztraminer probably was not in there for that long, right?
Yeah, it's 8 months on this, I think, of finishing.
So you're getting all of the really amazing notes of the wine.
14.
But you're not pulling all this tannin and stuff too. So like,
Yeah.
it's much, much closer potentially finishing it like in a sherry barrel, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, there are wood notes. This is barrel proof. This is cast strength, but it's not overpowering. The original.
Oh, that's really good.
The original rye was only 5 years old, and then tack on about a year in the wine barrels. There's just a lot going on here.
So is this hard to find?
Wow.
Well, it's 1,200 bottles.
Go buy them all.
Yeah, if you get them for $89. Yeah, I can't speak to how easy it is to find.
This is really good.
It's not a Buffalo Trace product, so there's no secondary market on it to speak. I'm sure if you're willing to look for it and find it, you can, because this is really not a brand that's taken off with the taters. Maybe once this publishes, it will. More likely, the taters will say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Why did he not put a BTAC rye as his number one rye of the year?
Yeah. So if since this is tater time, what are the ryes that taters like?
Well, there's 2 in the BTAC lineup. Handy, which is my favorite from the lineup, and then there's a Sazerac. What else? Booker's Rye, a 2016 release, is an iconic tater release, and I understand they're releasing a upcoming bottling of that the second, and it's fantastic. That's something that soared over $1,000 once it hit the market.
Wow. Okay.
The Wild Turkey Ryes are always popular, always been popular. Aside from that,
The taters aren't buying a lot of rye though.
they'll buy the BTAC because it's in the BTAC lineup, but they'll always prefer the bourbons in
Yeah.
that lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you call it BTAC.
BTAC, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. I'm talking
That's what they will really say, BTAC.
BTAC.
Insiders know.
I'm talking like a tater.
This is tater time, man.
I mean, I used to laugh when I'd have conversations with taters. The BTAC, WLW, and then it infiltrated my parlance as well.
The BTAC.
WLW is
it's
so
like you-
unnecessary.
It's like you spend so much time investigating like a drug ring, and then you kind of become part of it yourself. Like
You work Vice for a couple of years. And
can't go back to civilized society. You're just talking to your wife about the BTAC, and she's going, what happened to my husband?
Oh God, so good. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us to
Yes,
chat about the
thank you.
rise. Everyone can check out the full list on VinePair.com. And yeah, man, we can't wait to have you back. What's the next tasting?
Cognac.
Oh wow, can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right, and Joanna, I'll talk to you on Thursday.
have a great week.
Thanks so much for listening to the VinePair podcast, the flagship podcast of the VinePair Podcast Network. If you love this podcast, please leave us a rating or review wherever it is that you are currently listening to it on. It really helps other people discover the show. Also, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your colleagues. Basically, tell anyone about the VinePair podcast. It's always very appreciated, especially by Joanna. The podcast is hosted by myself, Adam Teeter, our editor-in-chief, Joanna Sciarrino, and Zach Jabal, former sommelier from Seattle, Washington. As we all know, it is edited by Darby Seaside. Theme music also by Darby Seaside. Art for the podcast by Daniel Grinberg. VinePair was co-founded by myself and Josh Mallon. Thanks so much again for listening, and we will see you again the next time you listen to an episode. If you made it all the way through these credits, I again consider you a super fan.